TitleMatchNetwork.com.
How about Jim Herd? We remember about Jim Herd.
He was one of the bosses or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
See, I was so low on the totem pole then, bro. I remember the name. I don't think I ever even saw the guy.
Like the white hair. And
I mean, I kind of know him, but
okay.
I never had any interaction with him. I was so low on a food chain that, he wouldn't have had any reason to talk to me,
Now, when Ric Flair left and went to WWF at the time, and he took the belt with him.
Right.
And some of the guys we've talked to, they said they found it really disrespectful that Rick would take the belt, like it was almost hurting them by taking food out of their mouth.
When Flair took the belt up there, it wasn't that long after that I got to go to New York and be Razor. And Razor was getting a big push. And so they put me with Perfect. Curt Hennig was on disability, so he was retired. And he was in a great spot. He was an announcer. He already had the reputation as being a great wrestler. So he was a kind of liaison between the boys in the office. He worked with Vince on the Superstar shows, an announcer. He was with Heenan. He was with Flair, and they put me with those guys. So that's about as high as you can go on the heel totem pole at that time.
Yeah.
So, and I remember that now they did weeks and weeks of vignettes of Razor before they go in there. And my dreams are coming true. They're going to push the heck out of me. And I'm really happy about it because Curt has helped me from the AWA days, and he's continuing to help me. Now he's telling me, how to get over with Vince, what to do in the ring, no wasted motion. Don't just do something because you can. Don't just do a move to a guy because you can. And he taught me, because back in those days there were squash matches. You'd have a guy from the audience against a guy who was getting paid to wrestle. And Curt said, don't go out there and hammer a guy with a bunch of devastating moves because you got to wrestle for 4 or 5 minutes. He'd say, hit the guy with one thing and then just stand there and go, look at you now. Look at you. And I stole from Curt to just pushing your toe on the guy and just go, look at you. Because you don't want to keep hitting the guy with devastating stuff because you're killing your stuff off. Yeah. So Curt taught me that. He said, everything you do has to have a purpose. No wasted motion. Don't run around. Always act like you know what you're doing. Like when you're in the ring, he taught me that you can't afford to buy that kind of TV time. Like every time you're out there, it's a commercial for you. Huh. So take your time, look in the camera, move slowly. But then when you do something, do it explosively, but then look around. Because Vince's key camera guys are slick. They ain't going to miss it. They're going to catch it. You do something cool, it's going to be on TV. So he taught me that but I remember that now I'm with Flair and Curt and Bobby Heenan. And so now my first angle is going to be against Randy Savage, against Macho. It's Machismo against Macho. So in Hershey, Pennsylvania, now they set it up by doing it in Wembley at SummerSlam. They injured Randy's leg. So the whole storyline now is Randy has an injured leg. Flair does a figure 4. They're going to take the strap off Savage and put it on Flair. Now, we're in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the angle is supposed to be they're wrestling. At a certain point, I'm supposed to go, Savage is going to go to the floor. I'm going to come out. Vince wants me to kick him in the leg one time, throw him in. Flair's going to put him in a figure 4. Randy's going to not give up, but pass out 1, 2, 3. Wow. So we're there, and I'll never forget this. I'm standing there waiting by the gorilla position because I'm going to, I have to go when I'm told to go. And I don't know if Vince did this to teach me a lesson or just because that's the way he felt. But they go out and they wrestle for about 10, 15 minutes, and he sends Heenan out. He goes, go out there and get them back here. Because this is before live TV. And Heenan goes out, says something to him. They both come back to the back. And Vince reads them the riot act. What the F is that? You look like two jabronis out there. I told you to work his leg from the beginning. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm standing there going, whoa. That's Ric Flair and Randy Savage getting yelled at. What if I screw up? Shit. You know what I mean? I'm not sure the ink's dry on my contract yet. Holy cow. And he's yelling at these guys are major players. And so he sends them back out and tells him work his leg from the beginning. The whole storyline is his leg is injured, work his leg, work his leg, work his leg. So Rick does. They send me out. I kick him in the leg. I roll him back in. Rick goes another 5 minutes before putting the figure 4 on. Vince is furious. By the time the thing airs, I kick him in the leg, roll him back in. He's in a figure 4. But I remember when we're sitting in a little conference room talking about the meeting, you're talking about the thing with Flair and the belt. That's where this long rambling story is going. Is that I remember kicking when they're talking about doing it because I didn't like Flair because he was in control of my career when I was in WCW, and I didn't like the way he was treating me. You know, and like at the same time when you don't have anything, you have power. You know, Razor hadn't made a dime yet, so I ain't afraid to say, "Fuck you, Flair."
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Fire me? Shut go back to the strip club. And they're talking about doing the thing. Because I've been talking to Kurt about, man, wait a minute. How do we know we can trust Flair? You're gonna put Vince's belt on Flair? He took Atlanta's belt. Like, this is the guy you want to carry your banner? Because I didn't like Flair. So I didn't really want to play on his team. And I was about to tell Vince, you sure you trust this guy? Because he's the guy who fucked Turner Broadcasting. So I'm starting, and then Vince goes, is there any questions? And Kurt put his foot on mine and tapped me on the foot like, don't say anything. Because I was about to go, yeah, I got a question. You sure you can trust this guy? But Kurt gave me the office with his foot, so I didn't say anything. But that's my answer to you. I agree. I thought it was completely unprofessional and very wrong of Rick to take the belt. That's not the way Rick does business. Now, I don't know the backstory. Maybe they screwed Rick over and he felt the need to do that. I don't know Rick's side of it. I just know as a wrestler, that's the wrong thing to do. Like when me and Kev left Vince to go to WCW, we did jobs on the way out. We did jobs at Madison Square Garden. Nobody ever did jobs on the way out when they were high up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't have to, but it was the right thing to do. We didn't want to screw the fans.
Yeah. What do you remember about when Bill Watts came in and helped Vince with the booking?
I remember he didn't last very long, but one thing I do remember was Watts liked me. And one time we were in Madison Square Garden and Watts and Vince and Pat were up in the audience watching the show. And that's when they were really, Kev was the world champ and Shawn was the Intercontinental champ. And they were wrestling Men on a Mission because they were getting Mabel ready for Kev at SummerSlam. So they were really building Mabel or Viscera, whatever they call it now, to wrestle Kev. So Shawn and Kev wrestled Mabel in a single, but Mo was out there. And so they beat Kev up or Diesel up and left him laying. So Shawn came out to make the save. People pop. This is Madison Square Garden. Shawn comes out. They beat him up, leave him laying. So then they send Razor. Razor comes out. They beat me up, leave me laying. Because they're getting these guys strong because they're getting them ready for Kev. And then Kev's going to beat them, but they're building them. So now they leave all of us laying and they leave. So we all get up slow. We're in the garden. Now, I've already had the ladder match with Shawn in the garden prior to this. So I pick up the world belt. I look at it. I walk over and hand it to Kev. And I think at this team too, see, they're already promoting SummerSlam, Kev versus Mabel, and they've just added the rematch of the ladder match, Shawn versus Razor. So now I pick up the IC belt. And I kind of look up at the ceiling. Now this is where we've had this other match in the garden, and the fans are hip and they know right away. I look at it. I look up at the ceiling and people start buzzing. And Shawn's smart, so he starts going, yeah, bring it to me. It's mine. Bring it here. Bring it here. Bring it here. So I look at it. I walk over. I stick it out like this. And Shawn reaches for it and I drop it. And everybody goes, oh, and I go, oh, I got you. And then I roll out of the ring and I start to walk down the aisle. Shawn Michaels does not like to be made a fool of. I'm walking down the aisle and I get shoved in the back so hard I get like whiplash. I thought a mark had jumped over the rail. And it was Shawn. But I'll never forget, Bill Watts came to me afterwards and he goes, I don't know what they're doing with you. You're over like a son of a bitch. I don't know why they don't use you better. He said, I'll tell you what they do. You weren't expecting that push in the back. We're going to, no, sir. But see, Watts wanted full control and Vince wouldn't give it to him. So he was there like a week.
TitleMatchNetwork.com